Now, if you think all curls are the same, then you haven't been properly introduced to them. Some of them do more damage, some do less damage, some of them hold better, and some of them are much easier to do. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chris Wenzel, and I own a hair salon called Live Love Locks, where we test out all the hair products and bring you the best ones. I make these videos because way too many women have unhealthy hair, and I don't want you to be one of them. A lot of people avoid iron work because they're afraid of the damage it'll do to their hair, but that's not the whole story here. Yes, iron work can do damage, but 90% of the time, the damage comes from doing iron work too often, like doing touch-ups every day or every other day. That's not how you do it. You really only want to do curls that are going to last. Your hair needs a 3-day break before you use an iron on it again, and if you can get it that break, you'll be fine and you won't have to worry about damage as long as you use a heat protectant. So lasting curls are really the game here. That's because A, your hair will stay healthier because it gets a nice break between iron work, and B, it's a lot less effort on your part. So let's get you a new strategy. The ideal curl strategy looks like this. On wash days, after you get out of the shower, you either blow dry or use a heated brush to give your hair a nice smooth base, and then you do your curls. That smooth base plays a key role because it prevents your hair from frizzing out. And remember, frizz spreads and spoils your hair to make it look and feel gross. And curls will always look better and last longer on a nice smooth base. You always want to do curls on days that you wash. If you wait until day 2 or 3, number 1, your hair is going to get messy, and number 2, putting curls in the messy hair just gives you messy curls. And if you're waiting until day 2 or 3 to do curls, you're just gonna have to wash again soon and ruin it and start all over. So what's the point? Now, if you think all curls are the same, then you haven't been properly introduced to them. Some of them do more damage, some do less damage, some of them hold better, and some of them are much easier to do. I'm gonna show you my favorite version because it does the least amount of damage, it's the easiest to do, and it actually holds for the longest. This is one of those really rare times where the easiest way is actually the best way. Shocking, right? Let's start with the top with the size of an iron. Almost everybody should be using a 1-inch iron. Wands are great too, they're actually even a little bit easier, but really you can do anything you want with this size. The only exception to that is if you're someone whose hair really struggles to hold a curl, you can go down to 3/4 inch, but really I wouldn't go any smaller than that. The first thing you need to know about curls is they're always going to fall out at least a little bit. That's just what hair does. That means that every time you do your curls, you want to do them a little bit tighter than you want them to look later that night. And if you're one of those people who really struggles to hold a curl, your hair is going to fall much more than most people's, which means to counteract that, you're going to need to go much tighter, knowing that it's going to fall later and look good. And that's where this little iron comes in. This is the 3/4 inch we talked about a minute ago. This will give you super tight curls. They'll look silly in the moment, but that's okay. You actually want that because an hour later, they're gonna fall out and look normal because you know that if you struggle to hold a curl, they're gonna fall out a lot. So you need to go super tight, 3/4 inch iron. There's also this mistaken belief that long hair needs a really big iron to wrap itself around. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Bigger irons give looser, weaker curls. So if you use this on long hair that's being pulled down by gravity and you have a loose curl in there, it's not gonna work. The curl is gonna fall out. So ideally, long hair, you wanna use the 1-inch as well. Don't go for a big iron. So let's get into the actual types of curls. This first curl you see in a lot of salons, but it actually is a really bad curl that you don't want to imitate. I like to call these whatever curls because the stylist is basically saying, whatever client, I just want to get a picture for my Instagram and I don't care if your curls fall out in 15 minutes. This is a very loose curl that looks like it's already fallen out. That's why a lot of stylists like it, so they can take the picture without having to wait for the curls to actually fall out. But we know the curls do fall, so if it looks perfect in the picture, it's going to fall and look totally different an hour later. It's not going to look as good as it did in the picture. The second type of curl is my least favorite. I call it the roll-up curl, and it does a ton of damage to the hair, and it doesn't hold for anything. It's terrible. If you look here, the ends are getting most of the heat because that's where you put the hair on the iron. That's where it's touching the iron for the longest, which is terrible because that's the most delicate part of your hair. You don't want to do that. This type of curl will fry your hair and not last at all. It's the same with all the roll-up devices, any type of automatic curling machine, it's the same deal. You don't want to do that. The reason these don't last long at all is because they're flat wrapped around the iron. If you ever look at a rope, you'll notice that it's always twisted, and that twist is what gives it the strength. That way, it doesn't matter if part of the curl starts to fall out, you have the rest of the curl curl, reinforcing the entire curl, making it last much longer. And that brings us to our last curl. This is my favorite because all you have to do is be able to hold the iron still. If you can hold an iron still, you can do the best curl out there. Literally, all you're going to do is hold your iron or wand still and wrap the hair around it. It'll automatically twist for you. You don't need to know how to use a clamp, and you don't need to do the spinning or anything like that. It's super easy. There's a couple things that makes this the best type of curl, and the first is that the heat is concentrated at the top of the curl because that's where it touches first. That means it won't damage your ends. Your ends actually get the least amount of heat because they go on last. Most of the heat goes to the top part of the curl, which is exactly where you want it because the top of the curl does most of the heavy lifting in terms of supporting the curl. And if you notice, as you wrap the hair around the iron, it's going to naturally twist. You don't even have to think about it. And that natural twist is going to give your hair extra strength so the curl doesn't fall out. Now, it should probably go without saying, but you must be using heat protection every single time you put an iron on your hair. It's like brushing your teeth, it's like washing your face. You must be doing this. This is not negotiable. And when it comes to picking a heat protectant, you want to make sure to get one that adds hold. That way, you're getting 3 times the hold of somebody else because you get hold from your technique, you get hold from your heat protectant, and you get hold from hairspray. My favorite for people who are just starting out is Redken Hot Sets 22. This is extremely easy to use, and it doesn't just add hold, it also adds shine to make your hair look better. But if you're a pro and you know exactly what you're doing and you've been using heat protectant for a very long time, you can upgrade to Kenra's Thermal Styling Spray, but this is really only for experts. If you go really close to the head and you spray it and it gets clumpy and you use too much, it is going to get sticky. So this is only for experts. If you're not an expert, stick with the Redken Hot Sets 22. Now, after you're done with your curls, you need to decide, are you going to break them up a little bit or are you going to let them fall on their own? If your hair holds a curl really, really well, it's totally fine to break them up with your hands. Just use a little bit of oil, run your hands through them, and get them to look exactly how you want. But if your hair does not hold a curl really well, I recommend don't touch them. Leave them exactly as they are. Take a little bit of oil, polish up your style, mostly on the ends, and let them fall naturally. Because if you rake through them, they're gonna fall too much. And the last and final step of your curl routine is going to be using a hairspray. This is Control Addict 28. He's one of my favorites. This guy is nice and strong, but remember, the rule with hairspray is to never stay in any one place for more than 6 seconds. If you stay more than 6 seconds, the hairspray is going to start adding more weight and less hold, so the hairspray will actually pull your curls out instead of adding support. So after the hairspray, you're all done. You don't want to touch it or anything. They'll still fall a little bit over the next hour or so just let that happen naturally, but you're good to go. The key to this routine is doing it more than once. The odds of you mastering this on your very first try are pretty low. This is just like riding a bike. You have to do it a couple tries, but then something clicks and you get it and you have that skill for the rest of your life. So please do yourself a huge favor, practice this until you get it, and you'll be able to do this without even thinking about it for the rest of your life. I would love to know if this video helped you. All the product links are in the description below. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll make sure to get back to you.